Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
We were chatting about this off camera. The whole idea of this is like the Warriors Code. So, when I was like looking at different like warriors over the years, like all you guys who would be like full-time competitors would be, they all had a code that they live by. So it's a set of behaviors that is expected of each and every warrior that passes through the tribe. And so what I want to do with these sections is chat to you guys about like the different codes and the sets of like principles and values that you have when it comes to like your training, and then maybe when it comes to your competition. So if we start off and go, when it comes, as it pertains to how you practice and how you train, is there any like obvious like guiding principles or values that you like to exhibit in every practice session or every training session?
I think I come into them with the intention of I'm looking for that one thing to get better every single day. That's like a big thing to me, because a lot of my journey, I feel I seek the most benefit and kind of learn the most is through progress. That's a big thing for me. And sometimes I feel better after I've really, if I see my speed creep up rather than if I win the tournament, I actually feel better from that. So I think when I go to practice, I really want to kind of find that one thing or really improve kind of more so in practice. That would be a big thing for me.
Okay. So to see like, so in practice, you want to like have some measure of what you're trying to improve, and then have some way of measuring whether that thing is actually growing and evolving and progressing.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's easy with say speed with the driver. You see that on the TrackMan and you get that back out. But sometimes it can even be a feeling. Like for me in my swing, I know once I've got that feeling, I can kind of progress in that area. So like whether it's coming down and kind of feeling like a tennis serve or like something like, or a underhand in tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like when I kind of click and I get that, that's something that is kind of big for me.
Okay. And then like in terms of it could be a feeling in the swing, it could be like the speed with the driver, and I suppose as well it could be like the ability to hit a certain shot too.
Exactly. Like something I've been working on recently is like the fade, like hitting a fade, and like right now kind of over this down time I've seen that fade, and knowing that you can hit that shot, that kind of that ticks a lot of boxes for me. That makes me very happy.
What about the bad days in practice? How do you like, what's your way of over, the days like the real shitty days where you feel like I'm not getting anything done here, and like how do you overcome them?
I would probably tend to like go and do something that like a game, or kind of get competitive, rather than if I'm kind of, or I'll grind it out for a certain amount of time. Like there's days where we're doing speed and I hit 99 the day before, and the next day I can't even hit 96, and you're kind of losing your mind. But I think you kind of push yourself to a certain extent, and then you're not really benefiting from it anymore. So then I would kind of go and do something fun and something where I could actually benefit. When you get to that certain point where you're just not getting, your head's in a bad space, you're not really feeling like you're getting anything more, then I'll go and do something fun, and go and have a competition, go and set up a spiral, go and do a game where I feel like I can still benefit, and kind of get myself in a good headspace before going on to that.
And on the like that, when you're having a real tough session, and it's like it's hard, and you're not necessarily feeling that like say progress piece that you like.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it like what are the what are the kind of reflections that you've had over the last number of years that has gotten you back out the next day? Because I think sometimes one of the things that like players drop off on is like when they're not feeling they're making progress, their work rate drops. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I think if you have that like goal, like to say my goal is I want to be consistently over 100 miles per hour with my driver, I think the next day you go, you're really motivated again. I find I am again, because I really want to master it. That's a big thing for me. Like if I can't hit a fade, I can't hit a fade. I want to have that feeling of being able to do what I couldn't do the day before. And as we kind of spoke about, if you kind of wake up, you have really good night's sleep, you have that fresh perspective and you're kind of ready to go again. But I think if you set yourself a good enough goal and you really know what you want to achieve, it's kind of easy to get out of bed the next day. Like if I say I want to hit a fade, I'm going to do every single thing in my power. So I'm going to be able to do that down the line. And it might take 1 week, it might take 2 weeks, it might take months and months and months. But if you have strong enough goals and you have a strong enough will to want to achieve what you've set out to do, then I think it's really easy the next day to keep going.
And one thing that you'd be pretty good at is like you love to attack your weaknesses, whereas like some people, I think, you know, we kind of want to stay in our comfort blanket of doing the work that we just want to do, which would be like the things that we're good at or the types of practice that we enjoy. But like any good warrior knows, like you have to prepare for every eventuality in battle. Just because you like working on long irons doesn't mean that every shot you're going to have in a tournament is going to be a long iron. So what's your take on, or how do you frame when you go do a practice session on this? Like, you know, we often laugh when we do practice sessions where you're like, you know, I hate this, but like you're quite good at attacking your weaknesses. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the one thing that stands out for me with this is you always say that you know why you don't like it is because you're shit at it, and you always say that. So it's always in my head that you haven't got that. But like for me, I think when I look at male golfers, I think the cool thing is they can do all these crazy things, you know, like 2 irons for the bunkers, and I in a way want to be a little bit like that. Like I want to say like you know, watch this on the range and I'm going to hit like the coolest stinger, like high rise or this big fade or this big draw. And like I think kind of having the creativity, but then also in a way being pushed from a good like way. Like I think one of the great things that we do is we really sit down and we have a plan of what we want to do, and it kind of turns you in from hating something. Like I hated working on speed, I hated it, but everything new I kind of work on I kind of hate. But you find a fun way, or you set goals like, and you have that really clear kind of picture in the journey that you want to go on to get there. So I think in a way you have to really attack what you want to do. You can't just say, right, my speed needs to be better and just park it there. Like you actually have to have a plan in place that kind of gets you wanting to do that and wants you to like work and improve it.
Yeah, I think like the other, going back to what you said there about the creativity piece, like I think that's one of the things that we can fall into the trap of in golf is like we think that just a perfect technique is going to produce perfect outcomes, and it doesn't. It's like it's going to be more your ability to hit the shot that the situation requires, and who knows what that situation is going to be. Like, you know, if all we do is stand on a range trying to hit perfect straight shots, and all of a sudden you find yourself behind a tree on the 18th hole on Sunday, and you need to hit a 30-yard draw and get that thing up onto the green and make par to win. You want to have practiced that in some way, shape, or form in the past, and like that's, you know, I think one of the things that you've definitely got better over the last number of years is that like being excited about being not necessarily perfect but creative and adapting and hitting different shots and looking for the, like, you know, the ability to execute on your intent no matter what that intent might be. I think you've got you definitely got better now for the last little while.
I think that this, and when I look back, the shots that stand out to me aren't the shots that are like I hit the perfect 5-iron straight shot to 2 feet. It's like one of the shots that really sticks out to me was we were at Carton House, and I couldn't hit a fade before, and I had to hit a fade right around that tree, and I must have moved it like 40-50 yards. Like that's the things that stand out to me, those cool moments. And I think if you look at players like Seve, that's why he's so greatly remembered, because of the crazy shots he played. And I think that's the cool thing about golf that's kind of been lost, and it's something that I've really learned a lot in the past few years. I think a couple of years ago my outlook was, right, I want to have the nicest technique, I want to hit straight shots every single time. Like I don't want to practice fades, I don't want to practice draws, I don't want to practice low shots, I don't want to practice high shots. If I come into a situation, I'll play the shot, whatever, I'll figure a way out, but I don't want to do that. And I think the cool space I'm in now is like I want to hit those cool shots. Like I want to be on the course and I want to have the option whether I want to go high, I want to go low, I'm going to move it, not just I'm going to have to chip this out. And I think it's more fun on the golf course to have kind of the tools to choose the shot and hit the shot and really visualize it and see it. And that's where I feel I'm in this really cool space right now, where golf's very fun for me, and even practice is a lot funner, and a lot of that is due to that kind of creativity piece.
And it's easy as well sometimes to think like you could sit on the range all day long. And like technique is obviously important, and I believe in that, but like on the putting green, on the short game range, and you could like work forever and think until things look perfect, but there's no guarantee that perfect look and swing is going to produce the performance that you're after in the heat of competition. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's too many situations on the golf course where if you don't have all the tools, you'll kind of be caught out in a way. Like if you can't play that like nice fade into a back pin, you might not have made the birdie. You might have just had to hit into the middle of the green and kind of take your 2 putts and get out. So I think it kind of gives you the opportunity to, you know, to be able to play any shot and then kind of shoot shoot lower scores.
And in terms of then like, so that's like really good on practice. In terms of like then in tournament play and competition, have you like would you be clear on like the codes and the values and the behaviors that you want to exhibit when you think of yourself in the heat of battle and in competition? What does that look like? What are the values and the principles that you, if there was somebody else who didn't know you looking on, how do you think you would like to be described in terms of your values and principles?
Professional would be a big thing for me. I kind of, when I was younger, the psychologist I work with, Mark Elliott, he told me that, he asked me, you want to be professional? And I said yes. And he says, well, then you have to start acting like that now. And that really stuck by me. Even though I'm an amateur, I want to act like a professional, and I want to carry myself really well on the golf course, and of course give myself the chance to shoot the best score, but also, I think it's a game of integrity, it's a game of sportsmanship, and I really want to carry myself well on the golf course, and that's a really big thing for me.
It's funny, doing a bit of reading for this, one of the things that kind of comes through all the warrior codes of all the ancient traditions is that you have to have huge respect for your enemy. So like one of the big ones is not disrespecting your enemy, not being like unnecessarily cruel to somebody. And this is obviously actual battles where they're killing each other. Is like one of the big rules of engagement is that like respect for the person you're competing against. And I think that's like something that, like that part of being a professional, and I think part of your integrity piece you spoke of there is wanting to win and wanting to beat everybody that's there, but at the same time respecting everybody else at the same time, and like having that integrity so that when you do win, people admire you for it, but nobody dislikes you. Dislikes not the right word, but nobody feels you disrespected them along the way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's weeks where it's going to be your week and everything on the golf course is easy and your putts drop and you win and it's a straightforward week, and there's going to be weeks where there's challenges and you're frustrated and you're angry and you don't really know how to feel, and your emotions get out of control. And I think they're the most important weeks, that you really handle yourself well and kind of learn from it, rather than acting childish on the golf course. And that's something I find, if you look up to a lot of players and see how they act on the golf course, they're professional, and I think it's really important to kind of train that when you're younger and when you are an amateur, and to act in a certain way.
Can you think of any really bad day that you had where you feel like it was a shit day, but like you did the other piece really well? You feel like you stuck to your values, you stuck to your like any day you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, what's kind of crazy? Curtis Cup first day in America, we were playing 4 balls, and I was playing with Sophie. And Sophie was playing so good for the first 12 holes. Like literally, she carried my back. Like literally, I did nothing. I did not score barely on a hole. I was playing so bad, and I was like, it was almost worse because I was playing with someone, and you don't want to you want to say sorry every single hole, but you don't mean to be playing awful. And I was just so close to like breaking point. Like I was absolutely raging. Like, it's not just myself. I feel like I'm letting down a team. I'm letting down Sophie, and and she was playing great. She was holding it together. Like I think we were only 3 or 4 down, which was not bad considering it's 4 balls and I had not contributed. And then I kind of give myself a bit of a talking to in the back of like the 13th green, and I'm like, right, come on, you're acting childish, you're frustrated. You're not going to get the best out of yourself right now. and I stood up on the next tee kind of with a different like outlook, and I hit the shot. I hit it to like 10 feet, 4-iron, par 3, held the putt, and I think I went like birdie, par, birdie, 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 par to like or something crazy like that to half the match on the last hole. I think we were 4 down with 5 to go or something like that. And that was just from changing kind of my behaviors and the way I was acting, and kind of maybe if I had handled myself better in that situation, I could have got that back on the 9th hole instead of having to be on the, you know, later on in the match. So I kind of look at that a lot as like an example of where if you get yourself, you run away with your emotions and kind of are in a bad place, how you're really just affecting yourself in a bad way.
Funny, like, so that one was obviously a big self-talk piece where like you had you gave yourself a stern talking to. How, like, do you have to consciously work hard in your self-talk, or is that something that like comes naturally to you, or have you made like a conscious effort to get better at it?
Yeah, I think when it's going good, it's easy. Everything's, you know, not in those days. It's kind of the days where it's a bit of a struggle and a grind where you have to be a little bit firmer with yourself. But I'd say I'm quite good. I'm kind of different to a lot of people, and I kind of learned this when I was in college. When I'm talking to my team, I'm like that person that's like, you're not making bogey. Like, come on, like you're getting up and down here. So I'm quite like firm with myself. But it works for me. You know, like some people will just be like, okay, kind of see what happens. So my self-talk when I'm struggling will be quite firm, but I like that. I like kind of like, you know, kick up the ass, like, right, come on, like you're going to make a birdie here, right? We're not finishing this round more than 1 over. Like that's kind of my mentality, and my self-talk will be kind of firm.
Yeah, it's firm but positive, not firm and negative. You're
not like you suck, like not like that. It's like, right, come on, we can get this back, you know, the kind of more that way. So it would be, it's not positive where like you're great, like come on, and like you can make a birdie every single hole. It's kind of more like, right, let's go, like kind of firm.
And then like when you think of like so far in your career and the rest of your career, how do you think like your values, your principles, the way you go about your practice, the way you go about how you want to compete, have they always been stable, or have they changed over time, or what's the story there?
I feel like golf is just a crazy journey, and you have to kind of fall off the path to kind of reset and reevaluate. And I feel like we have those kind of 3 chats a year where from each of those points, the only way we really go is up, because we kind of reflect. And I think kind of your values and what you really value, like especially when I'm practicing, it doesn't really change. And I feel like you find those things that work for you when you're competing, and they don't really change. So I feel like you have those kind of consistencies, but then you kind of add a couple in along the way, or change and kind of trial and error, see what works for you, especially when you're competing. I feel like practice kind of stays the same for me anyway.
I think as well, like you hit the nail on the head there. Something you did really well, you've always done really well, is like, I think you said it, you have to come off the path sometimes. Is like you can't, it's like the path is too hard and it's too tough and it's too narrow to stay on it all the time. But one of the things that you've done quite well is like every time you've come off, you've come back onto it further up the road.
Yes.
Do you get me?
The thing you have to realize with this is, at the start when I kind of would fall off, I would be like, gosh, why is this only happening to me? And I think the more I've kind of looked for it, or the more I've kind of followed other people's journeys, everybody has those, whether you're a football player, whether you're a musician, whether you're a golfer, whether you're a local business person, everyone has those moments. But it's really who gets back and kind of picks themselves back up from it. But I kind of thought you see these perfect people, well, you think perfect with these like just improvement and winning and getting better, but everyone kind of has that point where they kind of fall back off and have to get back on. So everyone has those struggles, and sometimes you would see it, and that's something I think can be hard, especially when you're younger. You don't see that and you think I'm the only one struggling, but everyone has those kind of moments.
And like I think the key to that is when you do come off, I think some people are willing to be honest and open with themselves and reflect properly, and that allows them to come back a little bit further up the path when they do make it. But I think like the challenge is if you start like casting blame, and you don't really want to like honestly reflect on why you've come off it, you can kind of fall back down on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think one thing that I would say I'm very good at is I'm very good with being honest with myself. And I have no problem if I'm kind of trying to figure out performance or thinking about what's happened or reflecting or going through things. I don't really have a problem saying, hey, like I did not do this well enough, and this is something I need to get better at. And I think that's really important for growth and kind of getting better. So you're really honest with yourself, and then you can kind of figure out a good plan to go forward with it, you know.
I suppose one of the things as well, I suppose this is probably a good note to kind of like leave it on, is you've often been nearly too honest with yourself. And I think the like the warrior's path, or the high performance path, is a tough one, and sometimes it needs that stern talking to, and sometimes it needs the arm around the shoulder, and sometimes it needs like that acceptance piece, that I might have had a plan for how I wanted things to work out, but just because I had a plan doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen, and the only thing I can really deal with is what's in front of me. And you've probably over the last couple of years come a long way in terms of the acceptance piece and the compassionate piece, like being a little bit more compassionate to yourself, and being able to accept you're doing the best what you have in this situation, and you know that you're on a journey and all that kind of stuff. So just speak to that, like where you've come from when you were a bit younger, where if you didn't win, it was the worst thing in the world, and like kicking the shit out of yourself for weeks afterwards, to where you are now.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really helped me, I was so bad. I really put myself down, and I'm the toughest person on myself. I don't need anyone else to tell me I didn't do a good enough job or I didn't play well, because I'm the number one person to tell myself that. But I think finding that progress has been huge for me, especially in practice, where, you know, when I'm playing, if I have a bad week, I'm still able to pick out something that I've worked on in practice that's got better, whether it was one shot that really helped me find that, or, you know, say I've been working really hard on left right putts, and kind of, you know, clicking that. Maybe I play terrible in a tournament, but that piece is better. I think I'm becoming better at seeing the bigger picture, and that's something I always struggle with. I was like, if I don't win this tournament, like my life's over, literally. Like that's how serious I kind of took things. But I think now, like, you see the career, the journey, the path, the growth, everything's long term. It's not this little 1 week, and I think that's something that's really helped me grow and learn in that respect, is the progress thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like valuing progress more than perfection.
Exactly.
Like knowing that things are probably never going to be perfect, but they can always progress and evolve and get better.
And that's the fun thing about golf is, you know, you might get one area of your game and feel really happy about it, but there's always something that could be better. And that's the thing that I love about golf, is that you've got that journey, you've got that growth, you've got that improvement. And I think that's a fun thing. You know, you're never there, you're never at a destination, and you're never done. Like there's always something that can be better.
Okay, and then to finish up, if there was one phrase that would define or describe like your warrior's code, what would it be?
Oh wow. Can I say, you already said it, can I say progress over perfection? That's really big for me.
Perfect. Yeah. So that would be that's your mantra.
Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. Well done. Hopefully now, like I said to Nicole, the 4 or 5 people that end up watching this actually get something out of it. Not including me and you, obviously. Okay.